This is Andrea with Nutrition Commission, and today's topic is cooking methods that matter. Kind of some of the things that are cooking methods that we probably didn't even give a second thought. I know I certainly didn't until you need to. And then you're like, wow, okay, had no idea. So we think about the traditional ways that we cook, right? We're either barbecuing, we're broiling, we're sauteing, we're doing a bunch of casseroles, maybe back in the day, things that, are smothered in sauces and whatever. And of course, as we move into eating for healing, things become a little more simple, actually. So you're thinking about your protein, you're thinking about your vegetables. What else can I put into the dish to make it more nutrient dense? So I want to just start by saying, let's make sure that when we're cooking, first of all, the general rule of thumb is slow and low temperature. When we are grilling it, and you're getting all of that charcoal on your meat or your fish or whatever the case may be, that is actually like you're ingesting carcinogenic compounds. I mean, it's crazy because I love a good barbecue, anything. And I remember back in the day, even my dad, he would always say the blacker the better. And, looking back on that, I'm like, my gosh. So you think about, I don't want to have charcoal on my food, for one. So we can slow roast, we can slow bake our meats, and that's going to retain the nutrients a little bit better. And it's going to avoid triggering some of this carcinogenic reaction, okay? What about microwaves? Okay, one of the other things is I actually personally haven't used a microwave since 2015. And even if we do any Google searches, some pages might say that it's okay, some not, right? And that's the beauty of kind of research. We have to look at different viewpoints and then make a decision that's right for us. So I'm just going to do the same thing. Personally, I have not used a microwave since 2015 because when I was going through treatments and I became very hyper vigilant, I'm sure, like way over the other spectrum. But, there's a lot of course, controversy that there's EMFs. The microwave can literally break down the food. It breaks it down into different molecular structure, which the body doesn't really recognize as food and or has a lot of free radical or oxidative damage in the protein or the food that you're, microwaving. And so I personally do not recommend that to my clients. Okay. I just don't. I would rather have someone eat it cold than warm it up in the microwave, personally. But again, it's to that person's own discernment to decide, I'm not, this is what I choose. Okay, great. But I would avoid the microwave as much as possible. I just don't use it. I would rather warm it up on the stove with low heat, or put it back in the oven on a slow, warm temperature, like 250 to 300, and warm it up that way and just be patient until it's at the temperature that, I like or my family likes. So that's the microwave. What about the pressure cooking? Pressure cooking, again, almost kind of the same thing with the microwave. There's definitely, you can get two different competing opinions, again, depending on where you're researching. But the research that I'm seeing are just the basic articles about it on different health sites and even the cancer site, is that it doesn't necessarily, what they're finding is that even using a pressure cooker, it's not breaking down the nutrients like vitamin C as originally thought. In fact, it could be preventative to breaking down nutrients in your food due to cooking methods, which I thought was very fascinating. So the pressure cooking not only has the benefits of saving time, but the fact that it actually retains the nutrients and prevents some of this other carcinogenic reaction of overcooking food that is, unfortunately more common than not when people are cooking their proteins or their meats, etc. So I thought that was really, really fascinating, and I wanted to make sure that I point that out because I know a lot of people are pressure cooking. So steaming is definitely my go-to. Steaming, I steam all my vegetables, and that is steam, or I boil them. And the steaming is almost like the best, quote unquote, beyond eating raw, where you're getting the nutrients, okay, then right below the raw, if you can tolerate it, would be steaming. And you don't, again, I have a double boiler, I guess, and I use that. I've had it for years, and when you put a little bit of water in there and you steam it for 5 to 7 minutes, not so that it's mush, but it's a little bit, al dente, a little bit dense, but not too much. So you have to play with it, depending on vegetables. But you'll notice with all my recipes, all of them are basically steamed Mediterranean style, or I'm boiling them if they're like a beet, or I do roast sweet potatoes. But what I do there is the same thing. I lower the temperature and I just bake it a lot longer, and that helps to retain it. And again, I'm not trying to burn it to a crisp or anything like that. But the steaming, the poaching, the boiling is ideal. And you could also broil or saute. Again, broiling, not to, get it to a charred state, but just to cook it long enough. It's kind of like short time, but a high temperature, which kind of goes oxymoron to what we're talking about. But you just don't want to overcook something. All right. And then sauteing is also great for your vegetables. But again, I don't want to make it too complicated, but you just don't want to overcook it. So you could saute something in a nice coconut amino acid, which is a nice soy sauce substitute. And you could do that, up to 5 minutes on a low temperature. And then when you are stirring it, just add a little bit of water. And that's really, really good at retaining the nutrients in the vegetables that you are sauteing. So those are the key ways that we could cook our food that allows us to retain as much nutrition as possible. So I want to just leave you with those key takeaways. Number one, just to sum it up, steam your vegetables, okay? Steam that as the preference. Number two, if you want to roast or bake your meats, then I would, again, put it at a low temperature and just bake it a little bit longer, okay? The objective here is not to get it to a blackened state, but just to make sure you're cooking it, obviously, to your degree of wellness, okay? And I would also tell you, because I want to get my little cheat sheet. And then, of course, if you're sauteing, just use water. A little bit of oil, like avocado oil or even a coconut oil. You can use olive oil. Is a little bit dicey because olive oil is not tolerated well at high temperatures, meaning that it could become pro-inflammatory or carcinogenic. And so very easy thing to do is just, you can look online anytime to say, what are the high temperature oils? Okay, and you'll get a nice list of those. But I only use avocado oil or coconut oil when I'm sauteing, or even grass-fed butter. Okay, those are tolerated very well with higher heats. So I hope that helps you guys. I think the other thing that I would leave you with is, we know that, cooking, believe me, I get burned out too. I'm eating the same stuff, or it's just like, I don't want to make dinner. But we got to remember, if you're anything like, I'm sure we're all the same. Once you start doing it and start cooking, you enjoy it, but it's just the act of getting ourselves up to do, to do the chore. So maybe I want to leave you with this. Think about cooking as the greatest expression of self-love. the greatest expression of self-love, because it really is. And, you know, you think about trying to pursue this idea of health. I mean, it's hard. It's hard work, no doubt about it. But once you start getting into your routines and you have your foods, you know, that these are just the foods I eat, it is exponentially less complicated, and it takes less time. I'm telling you right now, I'm 6 years out, you guys, from the cancer diagnosis, and my, you know, the first year of really challenging times of trying to figure this stuff out. But now it is like almost like autopilot, which has its, you know, pros and cons, because it gets a little bit stale, and then you're like, okay, I'm bored. I'm tired of eating the same foods. But you don't have to limit yourself over time, because you do start experimenting with other substitutes and things that you can add different flavor profile. So just remember this, you know, again, eating for healing, and you approach it with this thought of, I'm eating, you know, I'm focusing on one meal at a time, and how do I want to make this the most enjoyable and nutritious food for not only my body, but also maybe for my family and my loved ones. So I hope this helps all of you. If you have any questions, as usual, just pop them in the comments box. And as always, I'm available if you have any questions. Until then, next time, my friends, bye-bye.